Okay, so hello, my name is William. Okay, today's video called I'm talking about the chat, and I'm talking about chat control. So chat control has passed. So chat control 1 has passed in Europe, and I don't like this at all. So yeah. So let's read about this, okay? This is not proposed check control law or 2 through the U.S. Petitions parallel, and the control has stopped on March 2026, and yet has been negotiated at first and has been revived. Let me just goes to 2. So there's check control 1. It will go to effect on. Okay, yeah. So it says I've already rejected it, so it's permitted. It will continue until 2028. And there's check control 2, which is something even worse. All right. So check control has back and forth on July 9th of 2026, and then the vote to reject its rejection required. The 6-1 required a stop if the 96 are against rejection of the Senate. Okay, because it does not reach the new regulation. Seditious masking were taken into in 2028. And the MPs voted wanted to stop. And Jack Control 2 remains unagreed with 5 drill-long rounds. And expected realizations of ended encrypted messages. So we had 5 negotiations, remaining regulation resumed in September. And the temporary law revives the same backdoor agreements of the table in both your and your voice. So contact your local representatives. Oh yeah. Can you contact your local representatives in the European Union? Let me know in your comments below if you can. But the US is going to look at this and thinks that they want chat control, and that's why. So check control 1 has passed the European Parliament through the back door. So loopholes produced in above and stimulates the vote without a direct vote as it is the law. So check control 1 is the direct extent of privacy rules that check the online sexual abuse, and that's the European Parliament on Thursday. So the regulation will be in effect until April 3rd, 2028, providing assistance after while lawmakers are in agreement to amend landmark check control 2. Now this file resurfaces. In March, MPs rejected the second check control 1 after the signature of talks failed. In late June, the European Parliament has opened the file, sending up the check control warning, and explain rules and Diggers Gap Online child protection. The console filed back the Parliament and the beginning of extinction season was difficult to secure necessity of the majority to miss it again. Now open to it the Parliament. Now the EP is the majority rejecting position of the 214th voting and the favor is resisting against. And 17 abstentions. And the citizen majority of the 60 MPs rejecting of the decision to 4 in favor and 86 against other decisions. The voting was closed and got just being approval within 3 months. Minute position of the positive amendment proposed by the new group of the communications and encryptions has been applied to applying the law. Now, the MP is a giver of hope and was likely one of the continuous factors. Any one of us not injected of second hearing is not clear how sensitive the list and communications channels could be. Since the amendment could counter a very idea of the investigating providing communications, it was likely reject these amendments. Because the provisions of check control 2 have been included in minor statements and providing the capacity of end-to-end encryption, but the secular debate is how lines of check control will end-to-end encryption positive of practice. This will be a buzzing of the criticism proposals and coordination at the state level. All files are scarce. Now, at the state level is both files and check control proposals that end by representatives mysteries of interior. Only a small number of countries have engaged in a debate on the matter. Not only is it law enforcement of it, but also of the corruption of communications and security. Big Ten opposition. So now Big Ten, both proposals of the European private communications ignited provide opposition, scanning left wing and right wing opposition's privacy, and agents of the University of Patrick Breyer, security specialists, and even human rights activists, instead exchange of freedom and exchange of information and issues outside the EU. So the acted of the Conservative Party of the German was as of the party vote and commit of the tech loop. The disgrace that the Czech control instrument has passed the European Parliament has opened the door for mass surveillance and privatization of all European citizens instead of targeting the fight against child sexual abuse department of the Parliament. The surveillance private jets in the United States of the freedom and democracy. If I continue, we want to continue fighting against Czech control. The president of the Vidya Foundation, Ladamania Kozlovska, committed for EU tech loop. And the full-on Czech control 1 should be viewed a broader text of the erosion of privacy in the EU. Now the vote troubled everyone who cares about democracy in the EU works, not just about privacy, but the same approach of normalizing erosion of the privacy we've seen before. First, the eventual privacy of the Trenders' data, and now our communications sweeping over the justified and urgent sounding purpose, and quietly normalized. And this is so initially of the segregating laws emanized of the adversaries of EU against the entities of the digital recessions. Now, the real fight is commission of creation September over the Czech control 2. And between now and then, resistance has been strong enough. No ministries should carry it. The story information on EU Tech Loop and the stories of the news are part of the syndication agreement. So, well, hopefully you can. Hopefully you can reject Czech Control 2 anyway. But as for Czech Control 1, has passed? No, I don't know. And I will read this later. Oh, yeah. That. But this is just talking about the US and yeah, I don't know why it's showing me this after that and all this. Well, I'll read that later. Anyway, it's talking about China's tech access, but I don't want to. I'll get to that in a different video. Anyway, but yeah, Czech control has passed the European Union anyway. Yeah, Czech Control 1 anyway, not Czech Control 2 yet anyway. But if Czech Control 2 does pass in the European Parliament, yeah, then the European Union will be in big trouble. Then Europe will be in big trouble. So, if you can contact your local representatives over there in the European Union, let me know. In the U.S., we have to go to BatteryBills.com. And yes, the KIDS Act has passed the House, but the fight isn't over anyway. So, that's... And there's you can read more about Check Control 1 over here, but I think I already read enough about this anyway. How long do I have it? Oh, 10 minutes. Okay, but I can read more. So Check Control 1 sticks to the EU Parliament and convenience of sector without warrants used in the event of the Parliament break. So Check Control 1 and enables awareness of the digital communications and vote against multiple occasions of the Parliament, and yet it's just like a movie Zombie. It keeps regulation illegal of those yesterday. It just works Check Control 1 pass. Whoever has not rejected a review of revolt of the majority a reversal. It brings back the law until 2028. When it is a temper of the digestion Check Control 2. After the Parliament of the publications of the EU official journal, the online communications platforms without an EU warrant and sexual abuse. Okay, the second are mandatory. The big tech firms of banking a rifle of EU firms, circulating refraining from doing so, representing privacy. They have a sovereignty at the points, but the Lego door, nevertheless, now it's officially open. This is obvious where many things replace what you may access. I mean, examples of Gmail, iCloud, Hotmail, Discord, Instagram, Slack, Teams, Snapchat, and Xbox, and Google Chat. Although the scope for the national communication services might extend on some gray areas like hard Google Drive, and situations like cloud, file within the scope of the law. All right. Okay, we keep reading right here. So yeah, it says a word to communications is the rest of 1-1 sheets from the group chats. It's not going to communications. And the EU and law enforcement of some warrant for Check Control 1 does not blink past of the authorities without a takeover warrant. And then target amendments of the E to E communications WhatsApp that it's sent other means now. Check Control 1 has admitted encryption now. Something has been used by lawmakers around the world. A good time to remind people that secure messages are no longer even made of the secure messages of the encrypted of the sender of the receipt of focus communications app. So it's apartment and the public as a cell. A matter of the happened of now. Check Control 1 already has been shut down repeatedly. Wednesday in March. However, the Parliament of Robert Mesa forced the second of reading of the law was 63 of its mechanism. 70 effects and bringing up the vote against and negotiation yet again as the addition of vote the denying not to vote to pass situation of a minute voted to vote of 50% plus 1 of it yourself scheduled Minnesota scheduled reading of the very last day before the appeal Parliament summer exists. Okay, summer recess. Okay, and the result of the 72 representatives, only 67 actually cast a vote. There are 15, over half of the against Check Control 1 did not figure out meant to Super Judy of 31 of against a full chamber. Opponents to Check Control's proposed resources of Fight Control website, including a breakdown of the member site, individual representative voting positions of contact information. So that's it. So that's about Check Control 1 and Check Control 2. But if Check Control passes, Europe would be in big troubles. That's why. So that's why it's a good idea to contact your local representatives any way we can. But I know my country, the USA, also has problems. Like these bad internet bills, and I know the Kids Act has passed the House and stuff. That's why. So. I'll talk about Xi Jinping's global restrictions on global cooperation on U.S. on China tech access some other time. Yeah, I'll talk about that some other time because I need to do something else anyway. Well, I think I'll talk about. Maybe I'll talk about that next video. Yeah, I'll talk about that next video anyway, because I have to go rights now. Because this one is Jack of Draw 1 and 2 anyway. But you know what? But please, let me know if you can. Can you contact your local representatives in Europe? Let me know in the comments below anyway, if you can anyway. Anyway, I have to go rights now, but. So thank you for watching this video. Enjoy. Say goodbye. Adios and Zaijian.